I took my parents to dinner to celebrate my promotion. While I paid the bill, my brother took the keys to my car and said, "Mom said I could borrow it." When I protested, my dad said, "Don't be stingy. You can afford to share." He drove it across state lines and crashed it. No insurance. No apology. My mom said, "He's your brother. Be grateful he's alive." A year later, when he got arrested for fraud, my parents called me crying, "You're the responsible one. You have to bail him out." I said nothing. I just let the line go silent. I'm 30 now. Live in Portland, Oregon. Work in IT. I don't have kids, I'm not married, and I'm not flashy about money. But I've worked hard for everything I have. Scholarships got me through college. I stayed up nights teaching myself coding when other kids were out drinking. My parents never really said we're proud, but I always hoped they felt it deep down. Growing up, it was clear early on that I had to be the adult even when I was still a kid. My brother, Seth, 2 years younger, got to mess up over and over with no consequences. I remember once when he punched a neighbor's mailbox out of pure boredom. Dad laughed, said, "Boys have to let off steam," when I forgot to bring in the trash bins once. I got grounded for a week for not pulling my weight. That dynamic never changed. After college, I moved to Portland. I didn't go back much. Holidays, birthdays, that's it. Seth stayed in Eugene. Job to job, girl to girl, always one bad decision away from needing a bailout. And my parents? They always made excuses for him. He's just figuring things out. He's got a good heart. He just needs another chance. A year ago, I finally got promoted. It was a big deal, bigger salary, a corner cubicle, my own team. I felt good about myself. So I did what I thought was the right thing. I invited my parents and Seth out to dinner to celebrate. We went to this nice place in the Pearl District. Candlelight, cloth napkins, soft jazz playing. I paid, of course. They didn't even pretend to offer. That didn't bother me, I wanted them to feel proud. I ordered a nice bottle of red wine. That had filet mignon. Seth cracked jokes the whole time, mostly about how corporate types like me were the reason beer costs $9 now. I laughed politely. It wasn't worth fighting over. When the check came, I got up to pay at the front. And when I came back, my keys were gone. I looked at the table. Seth was gone too. "What the hell?" I asked. "Oh, he just took your car," Mom said, like it was no big deal. "He said you wouldn't mind." "Why would I not mind?" I asked. "Where is he going?" "He's got a date," Dad said. "Don't be stingy. You've got money now. Let him borrow the car." "It's not about money," I said, trying not to raise my voice. "It's about basic respect." He didn't even ask. He didn't want to ruin the night, Mom added. He figured you'd say no. Because I would've. I snapped. But they just shrugged. That was the end of the conversation for them. For days passed. I called, texted. No answer. I was on edge at work, constantly checking my phone. Finally, I got a call. Not from Seth. From the Washington State Police. My car had been found in Spokane. Seth had driven it across state lines, no license on him, no permission, no insurance coverage. He crashed it on I-90 into a guardrail after trying to show off to some woman he met online. He was fine. The car? Completely totaled. I drove down to Eugene, heart pounding the whole time. Seth wasn't home. Of course not. I sat across from my parents in their kitchen. Mom made coffee like it was a casual visit. "Thank God he's okay," she said. I stared at her. "That's it? What do you want us to say?" Dad asked. "I want someone to admit this was wrong," I said. "I want someone to say he shouldn't have taken my car. That you shouldn't have let him." "You're being dramatic," Mom said, sighing. "It's just a car." "It was $22,000, I said. And I was still making payments." Dad stood up, annoyed. "You make good money now. Just buy another one." I didn't speak. I couldn't. I just left. They never offered to help cover the damage. Not even $50. I got a used Civic 2 months later. Paid out of pocket. I didn't visit them for the rest of that year. I didn't call. I needed space. I needed to protect what little peace I had. Then, 1 month ago, the phone rang. It was 2:07 a.m. I almost didn't answer. It was Mom. She was crying. Seth had been arrested. Fraud. He'd been living with some woman in Seattle, and when she went out of town for work, he stole her identity, opened accounts in her name, racked up thousands in debt. She pressed charges. Police came to the apartment and dragged him out in cuffs. Now they needed someone to post bail. "We need you," Mom said through sobs. "You're the responsible one." Please. I sat there holding the phone. I didn't scream. I didn't yell. I just stayed silent. And after a few more pleases, I hung up. That was the moment I realized they never really saw me. Not for who I am, just for what I could give. And I was done. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought they'd get the message. But they didn't. 3 days after that 2 a.m. call, Dad showed up at my apartment. Unannounced. I was just about to leave for work. He stood in the hallway, arms crossed, looking like I owed him something. I drove up, he said, like that alone was a favor. I didn't invite him in. I just said, "Why are you here?" He didn't flinch. "We raised you better than this." I laughed. "You sure about that? He's your brother." He made a mistake. "Another one," I corrected. "With someone else's life this time." Dad stepped closer. "We're not asking for money. We're asking for help. Legal help." "You've got connections, right? With all your tech friends?" That's when I snapped. "I work in cybersecurity," I said, voice low. "I don't know any lawyers. And even if I did, I wouldn't waste their time on Seth." "You're cold," he said. "No," I said. "I'm tired. I'm tired of being the one who cleans up his messes while you two pretend he's just misunderstood." He tried guilt. "Your mother hasn't slept in 3 nights. She didn't lose sleep when he crashed my car," I said. "She didn't cry when he put me in debt." He had no answer for that. Finally, he shook his head. "You'll regret this. Family's all you've got." "No," I said. "All I had was myself. You made that clear a long time ago." He walked out. No hug. No goodbye. Just silence. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, I've been getting messages from people I don't even know. Cousins. Old neighbors. People who haven't spoken to me in years suddenly reaching out on Facebook saying things like, "Blood is thicker than water and your brother's facing real time, don't let him rot." Someone gave out my number. I had to change it. And then, just last night, I found out something that made my blood run cold. I got a call from an old friend from Eugene, someone who still lives down the street from my parents. She called to warn me, she said. "They've been telling people you abandoned your family," she said. "That you turned your back on your brother during a crisis. They're saying he only got into this trouble because you were never there for him." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. "They even said you were jealous of him," she added hesitantly. "That you held a grudge after that car thing and now you're punishing him." I felt something inside me break. That's when I knew this wasn't just about Seth anymore. My parents were rewriting the story, turning me into the villain. Because it's easier than admitting they raised one son with rules and the other with excuses. They're protecting him again. Even now. Even after everything. And I haven't even told them what I found in my email last week. That'll come next. So about that email. I wasn't even going to open it at first. It was from an old Gmail account I barely check anymore. The one I used in college. I only noticed it because I had a weird gut feeling after the neighbor called me. The subject line read, "Thought you should see this." It was from Rachel. I hadn't seen her name in years. Rachel was my ex. We dated for 2 years back when I lived in Eugene, before I moved to Portland. Things ended quietly, different goals, different lives. We hadn't stayed in touch. But apparently, something happened that made her reach out. The email said, "Hey, this is probably out of line." But I didn't know who else to tell. Seth reached out to me a couple months ago. He said you and him had reconnected. That you were helping him get back on his feet and suggested we grab coffee. I was confused, but I figured maybe you'd made peace. So I met him. Once. Big mistake. He told me things about you, lies. That you stole money from your job. That you cut off your parents because they caught you doing drugs. That you used people for success. I didn't believe most of it, but it got in my head. Then I saw what happened with the fraud charges. I realized he was trying to turn everyone against you, just like he did back in high school with your old friend Josh. Anyway, I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner. Hope you're okay. I read it twice, then a third time. Then I sat there in the dark, just staring at the screen. He was still lying, still rewriting history, even dragging my name through the dirt to do it. I thought about all the weird interactions I'd had with old friends lately. The cold shoulders. The unreturned texts. Even my old coworker Gabe had stopped inviting me to his poker nights. I thought I was just drifting from people. But now it made sense. Seth had been poisoning the well for months. I felt rage build in a way I hadn't felt since I was a teenager. Not just anger, but the kind that stays in your chest like a stone. Heavy. Slow burning. And that's when I decided. I wasn't just going to stay quiet anymore. I was going to gather every piece of truth. Every receipt. Every lie he told. Every person he used. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to yell. I was going to expose him. One message at a time. And the first person I messaged? Josh. Josh answered my message within the hour. I hadn't talked to him in over 10 years. We were best friends in high school until Seth got in the middle. Told Josh I was talking behind his back, making fun of his girlfriend, saying he was dumb. None of it was true, but Seth knew how to twist things. He knew where people were vulnerable. Josh stopped speaking to me that year. I never understood why until now. When I told him what Seth had done, when I mentioned Rachel, the fraud, the lies, Josh didn't seem surprised. I always wondered, he said. Seth told me a bunch of crap back then. I was too dumb to question it. I told him what I planned to do. That I was done playing silent and polite. That I was going to write everything down, put together a timeline, a file, anything I could pull, from Rachel's email to the police report, from the car crash to the texts Seth sent pretending to be me. And I was going to send it out. To everyone. Family. Friends. Neighbors. The church group Mom used to run. The community board where Dad still posted about yard sales. Everyone they lied to. Josh didn't just support it. He offered to help. Said he still had screenshots from back then. DMs Seth sent to people behind my back. Proof of the pattern. Over the next 2 weeks, I built a document. 15 pages long. Dates, photos, quotes. I kept it clear and calm. No rants. Just facts. Then I sent it. One email. Subject line, the truth about Seth and what you've been told. It went everywhere. And the fallout came fast. My cousin Megan called crying. Said she felt sick knowing she'd blamed me. My aunt apologized. Even Gabe, the poker night guy, a message to say, man. I had no idea. But the biggest shift? My parents. They called. Both of them. First Mom. Voice trembling. How could you do this? She asked. I was calm. You mean, tell the truth? You embarrassed us, she said. Your father hasn't left the house. I wanted to say good. But I didn't. Then Dad called. You've made enemies you don't need to make, he said. No, I replied. You made your choices. I'm just making mine. That was the last time we spoke. But the story doesn't end there. Seth's court date came up 2 weeks later. No bail. No one left to vouch for him. And with everything I'd sent out, people came forward, others he'd scammed, lied to, borrowed money from. The DA got a full picture. He took a plea deal. 6 years in prison. No early parole. He cried in court, they said. No one came to sit on his side. I didn't feel joy. Not really. I felt something colder. Deeper. Relief. For once, the weight wasn't mine to carry. A month later, I drove down to Eugene. Not to visit. Not to talk. To move the last of my things out of their garage. I left a note. I'm not the villain you told people I was. I never was. I gave you years of loyalty and silence. You gave him every second chance. Now you both get to live with it. Goodbye. And I meant it. For the first time in my life, I meant it.